Okay, good evening. Okay, I'm here. Yes.
A freilichen Purim.
I'm coming from a different world. I'm in Yerushalayim, which is it's a little bit of a backwards place. They're like V'nahapachu. They've gone back in time 2 days. So, all right. We're going to try again this Mishnah base. Here we go.
We should be learning about wine today, no?
Yeah. Maybe we should learn about the wine. I don't know. Maybe we should learn about matzah. I don't know. You need maim shalanu, not maim shuvim. Hello, place. So I just saw. By the way, I saw today in Sefer Gulas Ilias a fascinating statement. No, it's I. The truth of the matter was I didn't think about it beforehand, so I didn't have an opinion on the subject. Gimel lu gimel shemaim shuvim the place lo mikvah. Could that be a din deraisa? We know it's only din derabanan. What about could they make the mikvah kosher? Gimel lu gimel mayim shuvim. Mayim shuvim. So we know that there's a halacha of we mentioned a few times that could be just need rubam bam shacha would be good, which means if you have 21 of we call kosher water and you have 19 that you have them flow over into on the dirt, the ground, so then they become kosherized. What would be if I took less than gimel logim water and I had a mikveh that has 39 point whatever it is, and I drop in this kosher these gimel logim.
These less than gimel logim.
Less than gimel logim.
Well, according to our Mishnah, it's lo halu.
What was the question I asked? What we did in the Raisa? The Mishnah could be telling you it in the Rabbanon. But if it would be what kind of din would that be?
I think we've discussed this many times. If this is the Rice or the Rabbanan, no?
Not this question in particular.
No, if Maim Shuvim Bechal is that the Rice or the
Rabbanan. That's all like it. I'm saying even if you'll say that Maim Shuvim is the Raisa, that which you cannot be mashlim a minion, be mashlim a mikvah with less than gimel logim Maim Shuvim is according to everybody only the Rabbanan. Now, I don't know what I would have thought if I wouldn't have seen it written, but after I saw it written, it struck me. I said that's really pretty much obvious.
Is 40 sa the Rice or the Rabbanan?
Raisa.
It is?
Yeah. You asked, I answered.
Okay.
Not only that, just to beat on your back. It's not the first time that you asked that question, the second or the third.
Did you always give the same answer?
I try.
I don't remember hearing the same answer every time.
I don't either.
Okay. Anyways, okay. I guess they say in English, touche, right? That's what they say at that point. But it's regular water. Those Maim Shuvim is kosher water. When I see kosher water means it's what? It's maybe that's to make a mikvah out of it, but it's water. So if there was a din that you can't use she'uvim, gimel apostles, even if you'd have roiv sha'uv would be daraisa, but miut sha'uv is a derabanan. So that you have to say there's some kind of special din that they said that you can't use less than gimel lugim of she'uvim to be mashal minyan. In other words, it has to be that way.
Well, we just went through weeks and weeks and weeks of saying it's not the physical characteristic of water that makes it a mikveh. It's the halacha characteristic that makes it the mikveh.
So far,
So,
so good.
and now you're
This is
telling us
also-
that because it's water, so it could be maybe make the mikveh.
The answer, yes. The two things that are not related at all. Two totally different subjects. One is a question, is what's water? Maim she'uven is undoubtedly water. It just has a psul on it. It's not a different item. And how could I prove that to you? I can kosherize maim she'uvim. I can't kosherize the other things. Whatever is not water can't be kosherized. It's not water. Maybe today at the end of the year I'm gonna eat my hat, but
Today.
but be'etzem, that concept will remain. No, it's even when I will contradict myself today, it's not a contradiction. The idea of water is water. No, it's tomato sauce. The chayra cannot become. It's not mayim psulim. It's not water.
Well, let's say something closer like mei kvashim or mei shlakos.
But there's a reason that I'm discussing that today, right? I mean, it's interesting that you're warming up to today's subject, right? And that's the question: what are those things?
No, I'm saying if those were poured from the side of the mikveh, not directly in, would that also be able
That
to be
depends that depends if they're water with a psul or they're not water. That's bidiyuk, the subject that I'm talking about. That will depend, are they water?
Well, it's written together with mayim mei kvashim, mei shlakos. It's all written together.
That what?
Postlin v'lo ma'alin.
What?
Postlin v'lo ma'alin.
Okay. Now, are they puzzle water or are they something else? That's the question.
Well, wouldn't all of them be the same in that category?
Maybe that, no, yes, that is a good reading to say. Mistama, they're the same, but they maybe not be the same. There's a question which the Yerushalmi asks and the Rash brings. I'm just going to start off with this question. A person, I'm going to start off with something which is really fascinating as far as I'm concerned, a fascinating question. A person wakes up in the morning and it's very cold and he wants to warm himself up and he takes a hot glass of coffee or tea. Hello, please. A person wakes up and gets himself a tea to warm himself up. Does he make a bracha on that tea?
Officially not, unless he's thirsty.
Does he have sugar in it?
Okay. I accept both statements. This complicates the matters. There's a question which plagues the poskim for the last 300 years. The accepted psak, I'm willing to say, in every Howard Johnson's in America, how's that for a nice place to poskin, is that you're allowed to drink coffee in Howard Johnson's, right? Yes, is that true?
Yeah. Probably not.
No, probably not. Okay.
Probably not.
I don't know. As far as I know, at least in my days, everybody used to drink coffee in Howard Johnson's. That was Why? Because there's no problem with Marasayim, because people stop there to have coffee when they're driving all the time. You see a guy there, it's not a kashi. You see a guy in Howard Johnson's waiting online to get a coffee. No one's. You don't have to be the baditchever to be dana mekapschus. It's a understood thing. And coffee, Starbucks. You allowed to drink coffee from Starbucks?
It's a problem.
I do.
What's
I
the
do.
problem? Well, you're puzzled
problem-
ladies, I guess.
Yeah.
What's the problem, parents?
They
What?
heat it. They heat different things in the same kalim.
So that depends. And, I spoke to Mashkiach in the 5 towns, and he said, I heard from him, he said that the regular decaf you could have anywhere in the United States, because they never heat them in different kalim. Only the flavored ones do they change which kalim they do them to, because they're not standard there the whole time. That's what he claimed a lot when I spoke, at that time. I don't know if things have changed. But
when I was a kid, all the
today I
candy
was
bars-
offered sushi and I turned it down. And I haven't been offered Starbucks, but when I will, I probably will turn it down too. But Echshahu, the bottom line is, all these are cultural issues, you understand? A Starbucks coffee, now I'm not going to turn it down because of a kashrus issue. There's a cultural issue that it's doing with it. It's the same thing with sushi. Nowadays, maybe in 5 years it'll change, but it's Starbucks coffee is kosher. At least there are kosher Starbucks coffees, and there's no problem with bishul akum. Why is there no problem with bishul akum with coffee? The Achronim are plagued by this question. It seems that the minig in Klal Yisrael is that they're not makbir on it. One of the fascinating answers to this question is that coffee is only water. And there's no bishul akum on water. Now, just to confuse your life, Rabbi Yasher says, if that's the case, then coffee cannot be Chamar Medina, because water can't be Chamar Medina. But I think that Klal Yisrael assumes that coffee is water, and though water can't be Chamar Medina, coffee could be Chamar Medina, right? Which is like a shtickle, like a stira. Though doesn't exactly work out mathematically. Now, it's not necessarily what I just say in English. Not necessarily do I consider something water or not water the same in all halachas.
Does the sugar or milk play a role in any of this?
Could be it does. The last one, the guy in Ketzad Mevorchim says that a person is hot and has a coffee or tea, he does not make a shachol. He just wants hot. It's like a hot water bottle, an internal hot water bottle. If you want, if you're thirsty or you want the coffee or the tea, then maybe, who knows, maybe that's a little bit different. But lo mishana. Now, again, these are discussions of what it is. So the Achronim asked the question, and the Yishalmi asked the question, how could it be if a person has mei shlokos, if he has these things, he asks, what bracha do you make? And the person, they say Adam on it. Why? Because we see it as potatoes, potato soup, I don't know, whatever it is, tomato soup, whatever it is. So if you're going to say that it's Adama, how could you say that it's water as far as our Mishnah is concerned? There's a question that the Yishalmi asks, and the Yishalmi answers the question like a Jew. What does he say? He says, why not? Lagabe brochas, we don't consider it water, and lagabe mikvah, we do consider it water. Then, and ke'ilu, that's understandable. Is it understandable to anybody out there? Okay, yeah, Ari, looks like you want to say something.
It's words on the surface that make sense, but what's behind it?
Why do the words on the words on the surface don't make sense? If it's water, it should be water, everything. I just proved beforehand that halacha doesn't necessarily say that always goes together. But what could be the reason? What could be the format to answer?
Because for the bracha, we're interested in the nutritive value of it. For mikvah, we're interested in the liquid water value of it. As both.
Okay. I'm willing to accept that. That's pretty close to accurate. But I think that the word that we use, since Chazal weren't into nutrition, for some reason on their cereal boxes it didn't have that piece of information. So they say that it's Tully and Tom. Oh, what are we eating? So, but in Mikvaos where we're not eating it, so the definition is, this is the same system of an answer as you're saying. I'll say that your answer I think is correct. That's Tishalmi is saying that the two things are not the same. All right, that's one a fascinating idea. So let's just go right there a little bit. We discussed that last week. Why should there be a difference? Mekvoshim shlokos atemed actually hechmitz. Once the temed is hechmitz, so it made it over the border, and now we consider it not water. No, it can't passel anymore because it's not water. But until it goes over the border, it can. Case that poislin v'loy ma'alim. How does that? What's that? What does that mean? Mikvah sheyesh ba'boim sochos akortiv enough of them kortiv l'tzaychai. And when a kortiv of this stuff fell in, lo hello, it did not make it kosher. It's not mashlim the shear of a mikvah. Poisla begimolugim, and yet it's poisla begimolugim. So how could these two things the chorah should be a stira? The answer is no. So hey, posel of water. It's not called something else. It's called posel water. Not posel, just like shuv and posel. It's not. It's water that has something to it. Avashar mashkim, but other kinds of liquids, meiperos, which means you squeezed your apples and the stuff that came out of them. Hatzir is when you cooked, when you're not cooked, when you like you make pickles, you have the brine is the word. Morris says the stuff from the fish. Vatemed mishaychmitz pa'amim ma'alim upamim eino ma'alim. Sometimes they're ma'alim, sometimes they're not ma'alim. Now look what happened over here. All of these are more potent non-waters. I guess it's a better word to use them. They're less water-like and more like a different liquid. Yeah, is that you people with me on that definition?
Yes.
Okay, Sheffer, you here?
H-E-R-E or H-E-A-R? Yes.
Okay. So all of these things. So pomim mailim, pomim eno mailim. What does that mean? Ketzad mikvah sheish bo arboim sochos achas v'nof v'latoichai samehem lo helu. It's not water to be mashlim the mikvah. However, hoyu bo arboim saw, if the mikvah already had arboim saw v'nosan saw v'notal saw, I put in a saw of this stuff, and then I took out a saw of other stuff. So hareza kosher. So this is where we left off last week.
Right.
So we got a little bit stuck, I think, in the math, trying to figure out exactly what was going on. I'm going to say it again. When you had 40 saw, then you'll add another saw. What you took out, if you take out another saw, is going to be a mixture of what was there and the saw. And you're going to vadai have less than 40 saw of the original water. So if you would say that it's not not water that can kasher a mikvah, so we'd have to passel a mikvah. So the Mishnah says, if you say notos avanos and saw kosher, it's mila. We'll say that it's mila. Okay, is everybody with me on the math of this?
Yes.
Ari, you're with us? I have 40 saw kosher mikvah water that I take in and I add to it a revius of brine. I swish it around. How much do I have? 40 saw plus a revius, right? I swish it around and I take out a revius of the mixture. How much regular water do I have in the mikvah?
$39.73 and then 3/4.
Right, something like that. I don't know, whatever the answer is, that's the answer. You do not have 40 saw of kosher water. You have to turn your thing on, Ari. You're off.
My mixture became kosher.
And it became puzzle.
My mixture became kosher. I took out a quarter.
Now it started off kosher before the whole story started. It started off kosher.
So when I added something to it, it didn't take away. And when I took away something, it didn't take away either.
Why is that?
Because when I added, it was a kosher thing, so it didn't mess it up. When I take away from the admixture, I'm just taking kosher water away.
Do you? Oh, a second. I'm going to be the prosecuting attorney. Do you have in there 40 saw of kosher water?
I
No.
put it was 40, and then I put in some brine, and then I took out the same amount of the mixture now. That's the
All right.
question.
Correct.
would
Do
say
I have
kosher.
40
I would
saw
say
of kosher water?
I would say
What?
yes. I would say
How
yes.
is that?
Because the brine didn't take away. It added, and I have 40 plus this kosher, and now I'm taking out this little thing, whatever it is, I'm taking away.
No, that's what I tell you. That you're taking out part of that and part of the original water.
But it's admixture. It's not the same anymore.
You say it added, that's your mistake. It did not add anything. It's a garnished.
Uh-huh.
He's explaining it very nicely.
So I argued.
I understand, but he's explaining it.
So I'm explaining that
So
what you added is not adding. If you were missing your revius and you put that in there, you do not have a mikvah. It doesn't add.
Okay. But now that I have, it doesn't detract either. The
So
admixture.
that means you happen to be right, but that needs to be explained. And you know how right you are? That's exactly what the Mishnah says. That sometimes this brine water can be mila the mikvah. So if I were to ask you this question, like we're in high school, at what time was it malehu?
After you pulled out the other saw.
Are you asking to that, Ari?
The extra whatever, yeah.
12 o'clock, the guy added in the brine. 12:05, he took out the revius. At what time was it maleh?
Never.
It was always.
12:05.
Shlomo?
It never lost its, it never lost its status.
What was that?
It never lost its status.
I didn't. That's not the question I asked.
So therefore then, when it was put in, the time that it was put in, it didn't do anything. So therefore that 12 o'clock, that same 12 o'clock.
But 12 o'clock it was kosher already.
So
It says
therefore,
kosher 12.
So
It
it stays
says
kosher.
kosher 12:01 as it was at 12:05.
so maybe it's malay when you take out, and there's still the admixture added to it, in spite of itself.
So, that's the question. How could it be? Those very good words. How could it be b'mayla in spite of itself?
So it wasn't moirid, so it didn't hurt, didn't harm it. It wasn't moirid, so it didn't harm it.
What happens if you have a mikvah of 40 saw and you take out the revius?
You're stuck.
That's
Okay,
what we have here, no?
Or a second. So, anybody want to explain this concept?
Well,
think
we
the
have to say
concept-
we have to say that there's a zriya or a bittul or something. And I mean, because the maskana of the Mishnah is that it is malayu. So in other words, we don't care that it's not water.
Okay.
So what you mean
I
that
think
I'm
you're
wrong,
missing.
that it was
I think
already
you're
part of the
missing. You're
mikvah
missing a
before.
key. I think you're missing a key. Very simple key. It is water. It's puzzle water. In other words, we'll call it. It's the concentration of it is more concentrated, not water-like. I wasn't thinking the Reish of the Mishnah and the Sefer of the Mishnah. In the Reish of the Mishnah, the things are more water-like, and in the Sefer, they're less water-like. They're more like sharmashkin, right? What about when I water them? What about when I, excuse the expression, I water them down? They lost their potency, so now it turns into being regular water-like.
That's what I was saying. I was wrong. So that means that it became kosher. It was already mala even before you pulled it out.
It became really mala. It didn't. I didn't answer my question. It can't be mala it because the mikvah was already kosher. Just like if you add kosher water into your kosher mikvah, you can't be mala it.
That's why I said
kosher.
never.
But once it was mixed in, it lost its problem. Its problem was that it's not water-like. Once it mixed itself in, then it is water-like. And therefore, when this stuff is going to be taken out, it still remains water-like enough that the mikvah is kosher.
The only problem with that is, then why can't it be mala a 39 saw mikvah?
One second.
Ati, a different question. Let's say
What's
it was
that? Before you can ask the question, just everybody else, before you ask the question, everybody with me here.
And not because of bittul, right? The Rav said
Maybe.
last week that it's not bittul. Bittul doesn't work in this situation. I think he said last
bittul
week.
doesn't work. Bittul can't work to give it dinim. So, but bittul can work possibly to change what it is. In other words, it's being defined. This is not a halachic bittul, so to speak.
It's a material.
It's
a
what?
It's
It becomes like something different.
Metzias.
Right. Now, somebody asked a good question before. I can't remember who was it. Somebody asked, so why doesn't this work originally? Who was that? Who asked that? Somebody asked that.
I'm guilty.
You're guilty. Okay.
Wow.
No, if you could ask such a good question, maybe you answer it.
I wanted to ask more on that.
Okay.
Let's say you had 39 and you pour a saw of that in. Then you pour in a saw or a saw of regular water goes in. A saw of rain comes in. Then you pull out a saw. Is it still kosher?
No,
Why not?
because Gimalu Gimashuvim went in.
What gimeluvim ashuvim?
That's called paslu.
Fact. When did
There's no paslu. It says lo
What,
halahu.
what did you pour in?
It says lo halahu. It doesn't say paslua.
But then it says postal shoshalugin.
That's by the first half of it.
No. Let's read again.
Second half doesn't say anything about postal.
No,
I'll
it's
try
not
to
postal,
ask you.
right?
Palmim malim, palmim eno malim. Ketzad. You know, no, what does it mean, lo alu?
It doesn't say paslu.
The word next to right
So
afterwards.
what was your question? What did you
That
say?
seems-
What did you pour in? You poured this stuff in, then
Maybe
more.
you're right. 1 second.
It's nafal, it's socho samem. That's the only difference between the ones in the Reisha and the Seifers. The Reisha is posel, and the Sefer is not posel. Otherwise, they seem to be the same.
Okay, I think there are those who agree with you. That's not the simple pshat. There's those that agree with you. I think we'll see where there are those that agree with you. The Ruach Hashem, I think, agrees with you. But
How do you read the Mishnah otherwise?
what does it mean, lo halu, according to what you're saying?
Neutral.
Okay, Peseda, and then what happens when you put in later on?
Now you have 40 self kosher water.
I'm willing to say that you're right. I'm not. I don't think at the end of the day that it's true, but fine. Why is that? Because the lives like wine. It's not. It's nothing.
It didn't do anything. Yeah, it didn't affect it one way or the other.
Fine. Okay. Yeah.
Now you have your 40. Now you have your 40 of water in it.
Let's say that, and you're right. Let's say you're right.
Okay, so now your 40 of water is there, and now you take out a saw.
Well, it will be the same. It will be okay.
Would it be? Because
why not?
Because when you poured in this saw of the neutral stuff, it didn't go into a kosher mikveh.
It doesn't matter.
So how did it? So it became kosher later on.
A second. If at some point the mikveh became kosher, then it became kosher. I don't.
And then it became kosher anyway.
Yeah. What's the difference? So it's like you threw in a rock.
Okay.
No, I don't see what it has to do with the point of what we're talking about right now. The bottom line is that if you have a kosher mikveh, and inside that kosher mikveh you have this, call it thick water. I don't know what you want to call this stuff exactly. I don't know, maybe someone has a better name for it than that. Yeah. So once that thick water mixed in with the other water, so now we could say that it has the ability to be a mother. It has that ability. Now, I think I'm going to stop over here. But the subject which we're going to discuss, which comes after this, is we want to discuss this next week. One of the problems of a filter in a mikveh has to do with this idea of notel tov and osenso. According to some of the poskim, and now I'm letting the cat out of the bag, this which it's kosher only until roiv. Because after you do this a certain amount of times, I guess we'll call the mikveh became too thick. You know, I don't know. I don't have the right
apple juice.
What?
It becomes apple juice and not water.
It becomes apple juice and not water. Okay, that's good. So if you're going to have a filter that's she'uvim and all the time it's gonna, so you can disqualify the mikveh. We'll discuss exactly how that can be next week, and we're going to stop over here.
But the Rav challenged me to answer why, if it's 39 saw and you add a saw of apple juice, why that does not become water-like. I could not think of an answer.
Because what it fell in is water. You have to have water to be mashlim. It can't become water later. You can only be mashlim.
That's exactly what happens. But that's exactly what happens.
No, you didn't do anything to the mikveh. You were mashing the mikveh with the classical case. The mikveh was kosher beforehand. What fell in?
The Rav say you can't kasher a mikveh with non-water. I understand.
Right. Once it's in, it could become but it has to fall in as water. Just like just to spin your head. Just like with halacha is that has to be mayim shuvim shenaflu in order for it to pass. So if somehow the mayim shuvim could be there, not in the naflu state, it's also not going to pass. So no, there's a thing called the nefila. You have to have the proper nefila in order for it to make that halachic difference.
Yeah, but on the nefilas mayim, the problem is that Chazal made a.
No, I understand. It's not
Right.
it's just a mushal. It's a mushal for this idea. Okay.